Hello, my name is Andy, and I am the village idiot. And I'm normally armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Welcome back to Burnley for day 3, and it's ridiculously early in the morning, much earlier than I intended to start this one today, because if you don't know the story already, my car broke down after I filmed the last episode in this series, which was Cliviger. However, I did work out a way that I could get these last 2 done. I didn't have to abandon them, and I've walked from my hotel to this, the 7th one, although I'm not quite in the 7th one just yet. I'm in a park, as you can see, and this falls just outside the boundaries. I'll be walking a little bit further to get to the boundaries in a few moments. Welcome to Ightenhill. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Ightenhill is a civil parish in the borough of Burnley with a population of 1,975. Since its creation as Ightenhill Park in 1866, it's undergone a number of boundary changes. The modern civil parish includes Gawthorpe Hall and extends across the River Calder, leaving the hill it's named after. As a result, adjoining parts of Burnley, although not inside the parish, are still locally considered part of the Ightenhill area. Much of the populated part of the parish is composed principally of large 1980s housing estates, forming part of Burnley's urban area. This is therefore less of a village and more of a suburb. It adjoins the unparished area of Burnley to the east and Padiham to the west, and it also shares a border with Pendle. It's in the Whittlefield with Ightenhill ward of Burnley Borough. It mainly consists of the area covered by the old Ightenhill Park, with a small part formerly of Habergham Eaves, north of the A671 Padiham Road, that's been added to it. Before 1931, some areas in the southwest transferred into Burnley to align with the boundaries of the county borough, and this resulted in Gawthorpe Hall becoming part of Ightenhill's area. For a suburban area, there's a bit to talk about history-wise. Originally, Ightenhill Park was an extra-parochial area surrounded by the ancient parish of Whalley until 1866. The name is historically recorded as various things, the earliest known being Hightenhull in 1238, and then 4 years later as the current Ightenhill. Hightenhull and Ightenhill have also been known names. So you'll have got the impression by now that Ightenhill is much more of a suburb. It's very residential. It doesn't quite have that village-like feel. Might be different as we head further into it though. Ightenhill was one of the demesne manors of the Honour of Clitheroe, an estate administered from Clitheroe Castle. The honour passed from the de Lacy family to the Earls, then Dukes of Lancaster. It became part of the Duchy of Lancaster until 1661. The manor covered a much larger area than the parish, including other areas of Burnley like Padiham, Habergham Eaves and Briercliffe. After 1661, the area of Pendle Forest was also included within it. The accounts of Henry de Lacy in 1296 show that a horse stud was established here. During the rebellion led by Thomas, 2nd Earl of Lancaster, King Edward II is known to have stayed here for several days in October 1323. The 19th century historian T.D. Whitaker theorised that Ightenhill provided a preferred stopover as the de Lacys travelled over the Pennines between Pontefract Castle and Clitheroe. So with a housing estate like this, which is pretty much a maze of streets and footpaths, it's really hard to decide where to walk. I think I've probably covered most of the important parts on the estate. Now I'm heading down towards Padiham Road, which is the main road through Ightenhill. Parts of Ightenhill Park must have been enclosed under the de Lacys, but in 1380 under John of Gaunt, the keeper of Pendle Chase surrounded the entire park with a ditch. The first Ordnance Survey map of the area, published in the 1840s, shows the park to cover an area of 759 acres on the summit and northern side of the hill. After 1507, the entire park was leased, and it eventually found its way into the hands of the Townleys by 1519. By 1593, the Shuttleworths of Gawthorpe had taken control of the park and continued to own it into the 20th century. They were responsible for diverting the course of the River Calder, which had become extensively polluted by manufacturing waste in the 19th century. Industry-wise, quarrying stone for construction also occurred at various sites, including areas near Gawthorpe, well into the 20th century. Now, on this parish notice board here, we've got a map, and this is good because I'll be able to show you how much of Ightenhill actually falls within Ightenhill's boundaries. Now, this map shows Whittlefield with Ightenhill. Now, I believe this area here is Whittlefield. That's actually within the unparished area of Burnley. So if you forget that, if you look at Ightenhill Park Lane here, everything within the boundaries is this way. All of this. And you may notice as well, the parish boundaries come all the way up here. This is part of Gawthorpe Hall. Let's talk demographics. Ightenhill is made up of an area totaling 4.4 square kilometres. That gives it a pretty reasonable population density of 409.3, but in actuality, the density will be higher. That's because of the semi-rural nature of the area, the northern half of the boundaries being very rural and the southern half being more urbanised. 96% of the residents here are white British, there's a sizable Asian community, and the average house price is £105,000. Depending on where you are in Ightenhill, you can catch a number of different buses. Most connect the suburb to Burnley. With no car, I can recommend the 152, as I used it to get back to my hotel. Keep in mind that some of the things in this section are on the southern side of the A671 Padiham Road and therefore not within Ightenhill's boundaries. This Spar shop, for example, is one of them. A little further towards Padiham, there's another shop. This is Cheapside Mini Market and off licence, still open despite the scaffolding. On Ightenhill Park Lane, you'll find Pendle View Garden Centre, and there's a car wash on Padiham Road's northern side, this being Park Hill Hand Car Wash. Now, in terms of education, Ightenhill has a couple of places of interest. First up, we have St Joseph's Park Hill School, which is an independent Roman Catholic school. Then we have Little People, a private day nursery. This stands next to an old schoolmaster's house, which dates from 1840. A sandstone building, it's one of Ightenhill's listed buildings. On the south side of Padiham Road is Burnley High School, opened in 2014. It stands on the site of the former Habergham High School, or as some may have known it, Burnley Grammar School. Here we have the main church, All Saints with St John the Baptist, on the northern side of the A671, dating from between 1846 and 1849. The church was designed by Wakeman and Hadfield in the decorated style. It's built in sandstone with slate roofs. The sandstone wall extends completely round the rectangular churchyard. Towards the west end is a former drinking trough for horses. Here's the George IV pub. What Pub says this has a great beer garden that holds the sun all day, and it has live bands and musicians at the weekends. We've got a care home within the boundaries as well. This is Macaulay Mount, which is a residential care home and is registered for a maximum of 26 people. There's a fishery too. Cornfield Farm Fishery is located to the north of the main housing estates, just a stone's throw away from Gawthorpe Hall. Ightenhill Park is not within the boundaries of the parish, however I'm still including it. Dating from 1912, Ightenhill Park is split in three, bisected by Ightenhill Park Lane and Ighten Road. The park has recently updated tennis and ball courts and has a bowling green that's well used. The Ightenhill Festival takes place in the park every year, attracting families to this attractive green space. And in amongst all the housing, there's a small recreational area too off Lakeland Way, the main road through the housing estates. For landmarks, you cannot look any further for starters than the site of Ightenhill Manor House, which is squirreled away amongst the modern suburban housing. I originally thought it was this, but it's not. The manor house was a ruin by 1522. Stone from the site is thought to have been used in the construction of this neighbouring farmhouse. Manorial courts were presumably originally held here before moving to Higham for Pendle Forest and to Burnley for the rest of the manor. It lies about a quarter of a mile to the east of Gawthorpe Hall on the brow of the hill, the site providing a good view of the whole of Pendle Forest. The views from here are something else. Pendle Hill can be seen from here, and the summit of Ightenhill, by the way, is approximately 146 metres above sea level. This building stands at one of the entrances to Gawthorpe Hall. Bear in mind here, my original plan was to walk up here, but with no car, I'd already walked a long way. Picture time then. Unsurprisingly, the most notable buildings in all of Ightenhill are Gawthorpe Hall and its Great Barn. These are both listed, as are some structures associated with them. Gawthorpe Hall is a country house remodelled between 1849 and 1852 by Charles Barry, and since 1972 it's been owned by the National Trust. It's built in sandstone, has a rectangular plan, and is in 3 stories with a basement. Surrounding the house is a 19th century balustrade in Jacobean style that's included within the listing. Gawthorpe Hall was a strong fortification built by the Shuttleworths in the 14th century as a defence against invading Scots. The National Trust described the hall as an Elizabethan gem in the heart of industrial Lancashire. It has a collection of 17th and 18th century portraits on permanent loan from the National Portrait Gallery, and is notable for its textiles collected by the last resident family member, Rachel K. Shuttleworth, about a fifth of which are on display. The Great Barn was built around 1605 and is about 100 metres west of Gawthorpe Hall. This has to be one of the most impressive barns I've ever seen. Gawthorpe is one of the trailheads of the Bronte Way, a 43-mile long-distance footpath that crosses the South Pennines to Haworth, continuing to Oakwell Hall in West Yorkshire. The River Calder Greenway also runs close by, and the Burnley Way also passes through the parish, with both it and the Bronte Way crossing a bridge over the Calder on a bridleway to Higham. So here at the Whitegate convenience store on the corner of Byron Street, that's where my main walk around Ightenhill is going to end. It's not quite the parish boundary because that's a little further down Padiham Road towards Padiham. And there we go, time for a picture bit. Let's see what else I can find for you in the parish of Ightenhill. And there you go, that's 7 down now in Burnley with 1 to go, and the one that remains is the only town in the borough. The weather's changed a couple of times this morning. 1 minute it's been snowing, next minute it's been bright sunshine. I'm hoping the sunshine continues because, believe it or not, this town has a beach. I better get my sunglasses out and rent a deck chair, I think. This has been the parish of Ightenhill, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.